You might recognize these thin slices of slow-cooked pastrami, a whopping 3/4 of a pound of them layered onto chewy rye bread. It's one of the most New York foods you can find, and it's from none other than Katz's, the city's most famous deli.
That pastrami is by far the best pastrami I've ever had in my life. It really just melts in your mouth.
You know that pastrami comes from Katz's based on 4 factors. The cut of meat they use, which gets extra juicy and flavorful when it's cooked. The month-long curing process that gives the pastrami its classic pink color. The signature rub, or bark, around the edge that's made with a blend of spices. And the extremely skillful way they carve it into perfectly thin slices.
But I always get their hot pastrami, and it's just so like juicy. Liz hates the word juicy, but to describe it, it's like good juicy, and with the mustard and the rye, it just ties it all together. It's perfect.
Yeah. Katz's is known for having a really long line outside of its doors. So I thought I'd catch up with owner Jake Dell about how he makes some of the best pastrami in the world, even during a shutdown.
So can you kind of tell us a little bit of what you guys are going through right now, what challenges you might be facing? Or?
Yeah, this is definitely a challenge, doing an interview like this. A lot of delivery though, which is great, and a lot of shipping nationwide. A lot of customers getting meats by the pound, soups for their fridge, really just stocking up.
One of the most popular orders is this juicy pastrami on rye, something that takes a month to make, starting with the cut of meat. While you can use a few cuts to make pastrami, Katz's swears by the navel end.
We use navel for pastrami. That's very traditional. And part of what makes a navel so beautiful for this process is that the fat is really just centralized in the middle of the cut of meat. Whereas a brisket can kind of be on the outside, the navel's really on the inside. So when you're smoking it, you're pulling the fat from the center out to the edges. So you really get all these juices and flavors flowing throughout from top to bottom.
Then comes the curing stage, the longest part of the process, which can last between 3 to 4 weeks.
Curing is it's basically just a salt bath. It's about taking salt and breaking down some of the muscle, some of the tissue, some of the connective tissue. Salt is good for preservation and good for flavor.
Cool. And what type of salt do you guys use for that process?
Pink salts are a type of curing salt that basically helps give the rose color to the meat.
The next stage is all about intensifying flavor. They combine a little bit of salt, pepper, garlic, and coriander to make the pastrami's signature rub or bark. Then each piece is smoked anywhere from 7 to 72 hours, depending on the size and composition of the meat.
And how does the smoking affect the flavor and the tenderness of the meat? What is happening at that stage of the process?
I mean, that's when it comes to pastrami, that's everything, right? Smoking and rub is so important. What you're going to put on the outside there is going to really soak through. That smoking process is going to get these flavors to kind of meld together and go from top to bottom, side to side, piece to piece. And so you really get this beautiful infusion of flavor.
The cooking process finishes off with steaming the pastrami until it's extremely soft. So soft that the workers behind the counter are considered masters at slicing it.
It's very bizarre to feel meat be that soft. So if we tried to put it on a slicer, it would just crumble right through. Forget it. There's no chance that's going to happen. That's why a lot of places don't cook it this long, because it's a huge hassle and a huge headache, and it takes a tremendous amount of knife skills and years of experience and practice to really know what you're doing with that piece of meat that can just turn into dust if you're not careful.
It kind of has that same texture as like really good Texas barbecue, where you it comes off the bone and melts in your mouth. It has that exact same concept.
By the end of the month, Katz's pastrami is ready to be sandwiched between 2 slices of rye bread with deli mustard. Since shutting down dine-in service, not as many customers are lining up outside of Katz's, but many are still ordering pickup and delivery.
When I got it a week ago, it was still warm. Everything was exactly how I wanted it. Actually, I got coleslaw on my sandwich and I put it on the side, which I think is a genius move, so that it doesn't make the bread soggy. So it was still just as incredible taking it home and getting it for delivery.
Fortunately, the deli isn't worried about running out of pastrami, since Jake says he can adjust how long he cures the meat.
Right, if business gets too slow, you can kind of increase the length of pickling. If it goes really fast, you can decrease. So it provides a great cushion.
But we know the future isn't for certain, so Jake says he's taking business day by day. For now, the deli remains open as it has through recessions, depressions, and other crises over the last 100 years.
Everyone would be a little hurt if Katz closed, even for the time being, because it's such a New York City establishment. It boosts the morale of everyone in New York City. Having those major landmarks stay open, shows that New York City is strong. New York City is always strong.
If you would ask me this 5 months ago, in the middle of the holiday rush, what do you think your Passover is going to look like? This is not quite how I envisioned it.
Right,
And I don't think any of us did. So the most we can do is to focus on the meat right in front of us.